to top 8 with a couple weeks ago in the Open Series. He basically just took Ari Lax's deck from the Pro Tour and he said, hey, this deck's probably pretty good. I guess I'll give it a shot. And he ended up making the top 4 with it. So see if he's able to stabilize this game with a Siege Rhino.
This is a matchup I really wanted to see because at first this feels like an Obzon mirror. Both of them are playing Siege Rhino, Caryatid, Courser decks. But then you think, okay, what Todd and Brad have done is that they're trying to go bigger. They're trying to go more mid-rangey by playing even better cards through this red splash. So I want to see how much better does this make them in the mirror. Todd's up a game, so it works well. At least it worked well game 1. Game 2 is going to be tough, though, because if you know anything about mid-range mirrors, you know that Siege Rhino is, like most matchups, very good in it, and Andrew has a pair of those.
Yeah, 2 of them play through the life totals, too. Boswell is sitting pretty at 23, while Anderson's at 9. Take a look at the numbers next to their names as well. Anderson, 18. Boswell, 19. That's where they stand on the Season 4 leaderboard right now. Both of these players are trying to make their way up. As Brad Nelson is in 12th place right now, he's the cutoff if things were to end today. So these 2 guys both have a loss. One of them is not going to be making top 8 after this match.
Match with a lot of implication here.
Courser turns over a copy of End Hostilities, which can really blow up what Boswell is trying to set up. This is what's really nice about Anderson's deck this weekend is that they have this kind of transformational sideboard with these End Hostilities and these Anger of the Gods, which you would not expect from this deck. But End Hostilities is going to change the way I think that Boswell is going to play this game now, as Todd just plays a land, End Hostilities staring Boswell in the face, and we'll see if he can overcome it.
It's really creative to play End Hostilities in the Obzon mirror. You know, when your both decks are the same speed, usually you don't want a sweeper, but you know, it's that principle, like why you'd play an End Hostilities in Limited is that if you have it, you can decide when to cast it. And, you know, looking at a board like this is a board where Todd would be really happy to cast End Hostilities. He's kind of locking into the play, too.
He can't block fast enough. Fortunately for Boswell, he's got a really good play around End Hostilities there in Elspeth, so that's going to come down. 3 soldier tokens are going to come into play momentarily. I have a feeling these are going to die, so yeah. Boswell's not even reaching for them. Anderson's going to play a mountain and just pass the turn back. So Elspeth goes up to 5. And now in a moment here, the Boswell draw. Courser is what he's found. He also has Nurboard. So he's going to deploy the Courser. We'll see what the top of the deck is. It's a copy of Temple of Malady. That's going to come in. It's going to trigger the Courser up to 23. Little scry action will show you a Murderous Cut. Probably better than a random draw.
Yeah, I mean, Murderous Cut is a pretty generic answer. And this still does feel like a mirror match. I would be fine drawing Murderous Cut, especially when I'm ahead on the board.
Anderson will draw a card. You can see his hand. He's got a Sarkhan over there, among other options. He's reaching for some mana, so maybe it's time to go coursing. We'll see.
Yeah, he needs to make the board safe for Sarkhan. He would really prefer that Andrew not be able to attack it down. Now, questionable how... I don't know how well he'll be able to do that, but...
Cuts the draw, top card is a forest, and Todd says, well, there's no coming back from this, so he will just concede the game. I think the reason for that, Todd wanted to see one more card off the top of his deck before conceding the game, so...
Sure.
Boswell and Anderson will go to a third game here. We got 4-color mid-range versus, yes, Obzon mid-range. We're used to one of these, not used to the other, but perhaps we will become more used to this 4-color mid-range deck because we do take a look at Anderson's sideboard. We mentioned the 4 Anger of the Gods and the 2 End Hostilities. He's also got 3 Xenagos the Reveler, 2 Thoughtseize, and a Johnny Mentor of Heroes, 2 copies of Utter End, and a Glare of Heresy. Do you like anything here besides End Hostilities?
Well, I like Thoughtseize. This is a mid-range mirror, and I would like to take their Planeswalker or their Siege Rhino if I could get it. So I think Thoughtseize in a mid-range mirror will help you kind of clear, it'll help you sculpt a game plan depending on what each person's hand is. Outside of that, a Johnny Mentor of Heroes seems fine. It's card advantage. It's another must-answer card that's pretty decent. I wouldn't mind playing copies of Utter End as well out of Todd's board. I think the more generic your answers are, the better they are in this mirror.
What do we see on the other side here for Boswell? I imagine it's pretty stock stuff.
We saw the 3 Elspeths that he boarded in. Have to think he'll use those. He also has a lot of cards that are very good and mid-rangey. He has 3 copies of Heroes Downfall all out of the sideboard. Certainly if he wants to compete against a lot of these Planeswalkers or Butcher of the Horde style cards that Todd's playing, he can use Heroes Downfall or copies of Utter End to deal with them.
A little mid-range on mid-range action here between these 2 players. Now, this was the big question, right, when we came into this was, all right, so we got a 4-color mid-range deck. Is this mid-range deck that Brad came up with, that Brad and Todd are playing this weekend, is this better at out mid-ranging The super mid-range deck?
If you wanted to get me to play this 4-color mid-range deck, this would be your sales pitch, is this match right here. You'd have to say, I have this mid-range deck, and be like, okay, well, tell me about it. You'd be like, okay, it plays 4 Siege Rhino. Be like, great. That's what I want to do. Plays 4/7 Caryatid. Say, great, I'm still on board. But this isn't anything new. Everybody's playing Siege Rhino and Caryatid. And then if you said, and it wins the mirror, now I want to buy your product.
Now you're speaking my language?
Yeah, now we're talking.
All right. That's not a tough sell.
I want to see it in action. You know,
Okay.
I don't want to. You gotta test drive the car before you buy it.
Well, speak for yourself. I didn't do that.
How'd that? just bought one out right off the
I
lot?
just knew I wanted the Civic, so I just got it.
Had you driven a Civic before?
Nah. I'm what they like to call a layover or laydown. They call it a laydown in the sales industry.
Oh, man.
I'm the easiest
How do you even know?
sell.
I mean, you gotta sit in the car, right? I mean, you're a larger guy. Maybe it's not comfortable. Maybe the
it's not.
ceiling is too low.
I got lucky that it is. Look, I'm
man.
kind of young and stupid then. Still stupid, just a little older, but young and stupid then. So I want this car.
bought it.
I'm just gonna get this car. There you go. That's what I did.
even if it didn't drove what you wanted, this was the car.
I locked myself in. For better or worse. A Temple of Plenty will be how Anderson starts this game. Top card goes to the bottom. Let's see what the boss can put together here. Both players are going to get their mana online to start, and that's when the haymakers begin, is after that. Sandstep Citadel is what Boswell has. Temple of Plenty here for Anderson. Take a look at the top card. It goes to the bottom.
Right now, Todd just has Naya mana, actually.
No
Has
black
two
yet.
mountains. Black is a necessity.
Black. That hand says it's a necessity.
Well, he had one non-black card. That was the Xenagos. So it's Xenagos, Siege Rhino, Crackling Doom, and Murderous Cut, along with two mountains. Boswell, if he takes the Xenagos, there are no cards that Todd can currently cast.
It's kind of interesting. Xenagos feels kind of low impact in this matchup. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
It
You know,
buys
making
a lot
2/2.
of time.
Okay.
It might be the principle that Planeswalkers are generally pretty good in mid-range mirrors.
I suppose if he is boarding into a deck that is Planeswalkers and Wrath effects, then that's all he cares about.
Boarding
Because
into the
we know he's
Shaheen
not
Sarani
hostilities.
deck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically.
Just not being blue. Bob's
Instead
going
of-
to take a little while here on this Thoughtseize.
Instead of playing Dissolve, you play Murderous Cut.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, it's the same idea.
You can see Boswell saying he's got an Abzan Charm, a Hero's Downfall. Temple of Silence looks like the land that he's going to play. So there goes Xenagos. That'll be the card he selects. I'm actually going to go with Temple of Malady, so take a look at the top card. That goes to the bottom. We'll go back Anderson's way. Can you find black mana? No, but he found Nutter End.
All right.
This is bound to happen with this deck, right? Like, this is just a thing that has to happen. I mean, their mana is pretty good. It's not
He
perfect.
kept two temples. This
Yeah.
was unlikely.
There's a Courser. Let's see the draw. All right, Sandstep Citadel. Found black.
Came into play tapped, but that's probably fine. More importantly, Andrew is going to start getting card advantage with his Courser. Courser's very good in mid-range mirrors.
Windswept Heath going to come in. Trigger, gain a little bit of life.
If Andrew can protect the Courser from Crackling Doom, he may want to try to do that.
Tempo Malady, the top card from Courser. I'd be surprised if we just don't see him fire off a Thoughtseize here. I guess attacking is the easiest place to start, but he's going to go reaching for some mana. And Todd says, yep, there it is. Utter End, Murder's Cut, Crackling Doom, Siege Rhino, Mountain.
If you take the Rhino, all you're leaving Todd with is removal spells, which are hard to beat, but not impossible. I think he's going to take the threat.
Goes
He's
with the
gonna
Murder's Cut.
Murderous Cut. So actually, there's an interesting argument. By taking Murderous Cut, he is limiting Todd to one spell per turn. Todd was already a little limited because of his black mana, but all the spells he's left Todd with are 3+ mana.
Time to draw. It's a mountain.
The last basic mountain in their deck, actually.
We'll play that. 3 and 4. It's time for a Rhino. So the big guy's coming down.
Of note here, they play 3 mountains, 1 swamp, and then 3 mountains, sorry, 2 forests, and a set of. They have They have a lot of fetches, and not very many things to fetch.
Yep.
So this is could become an issue.
He's already drawn 3 mountains. The fetch
Right.
lines here are 4 Wooded Foothills and 2 Bloodstained Mires. Boss is going to sacrifice his Windswept Heath. He'll get a Plains. That'll give him 3 untapped mana for Abzan Charm if he wants to cast that, but we'll see what the top card of his deck is from Courser here in just a moment. Yep, that's going to get that off of the table.
Has removal for the Siege Rhino here.
Yep. It's actually okay. So he's drawing cards. I thought he may just kill
right.
the Rhino, but he's drawing cards. So fortunately for him, the draw is actually going to be Murderous Cut. You saw the 2 cards he picked up were a land and a Johnny Mentor of Heroes, I believe. So now he has a cut. Top cards of Caves.
So much card advantage here from Boswell.
He's up to 13 now.
See with a 7-card grip.
Sandstep Citadel. There's also a copy of Wingmate Rock over there for Andrew.
Yeah, he has Wingmate Rock, Hero's Downfall, Murderous Cut, 3 lands. Plenty of choices here. And he has good information on Todd's hand from the Thoughtseize for the last turn.
He's going to just say, cut this. 1 black mana, kill that creature, in for 2, puts you to 19. Yeah, Boswell's hand's so good.
Aggressive use of the Murderous Cut. He actually doesn't have a follow-up play.
Let's see what the draw is. Another land, copy of Wooded Foothills. No Heaths in this deck. There is the Foothills. And are we passing back? Yes, we are. Maybe in the draw step? We'll see.
Draw
full of Malady.
Draw for the turn is the Abzan Charm. And Andrew, each turn with this Courser's been in play, has gotten to get a free card off it.
So there's Crackling Doom. Going to turn down the Temple. Boz is reaching. It's Wingmate Rock.
Yeah, no raid trigger on it, so just a 3/4 flyer.
Anderson's going to sacrifice the Wooded Foothills, going to land out of his deck. One thing about Boswell's hand right now, as you saw the Temple put the top card to the bottom, is that he is flooding out just a touch. Courser's done some nice work this game, of course, but he's flooding out just a little bit. He does have 2 spells left in his hand. One of them is in a Johnny. That one's, of course, very, very important, as that can generate even more card advantage.
There is an opening for Todd, though. If he can land something like an Elspeth here, he has almost as many threats as Boswell right now.
See the top card, Siege Rhino. There's a creature.
Can never be unhappy with him.
Pass the turn back as Anderson goes up to 19. It's 19 to 11. Boswell will draw a card, copy of Sylvan Carry added. That's a pretty bad one, too. It's kind of like drawing a land, not the exact same. Attack step, utter end.
Even with 3 basic mountains in play, Todd able to make his mana work for cards like Siege Rhino and Utter End.
This isn't a Johnny. Elevator goes up to 5. Boswell will take a look at the top 4. Did we find something to take? Looks like there's a Sorin at least.
That'll be good enough. Forces Todd to deal with the Ajani each turn, otherwise Boswell will continue just to net a card off it.
There's Sorin. Boswell's still in basically 1 spell per turn territory. He can't play a land and play Carry added, which is actually pretty good at defending a Johnny here. So that's not a bad turn at all. Anderson's going to draw. Okay. We're going to have maybe a little Johnny standoff here in just a second.
Yeah, Siege Rhino the play from Todd, but you're right. Carry added means that there are no attacks, and Boswell gets a turn to just use a Johnny again.
Abzan Charm the draw. We know about the Sorin that's over there for Boswell. He's got the active Ajani too. 4 mana. It is time for the Solemn Visitor to join this ever-growing board here for the Boz. Down to 2. A Vampire coming in. Ajani, of course, ticking up. He's going to put some counters on the token.
So it becomes a 5/5 flyer.
Yeah, and this level of card advantage is almost too much to overcome here for Todd. He's just 1 step behind. Like, he's now finding his Ajani.
Right.
There's a Llanowar Waste. That's going to come in and trigger the core, so he's going to go up to 23. He's winning the life total war. And there's an Utter End. That's not a bad draw moving forward, but it just feels like he's just 1 turn behind the entire time.
You know, and that's, I think, one of the things about these mid-range decks is that though the power level of the cards is very high, the power level is pretty flat. Meaning, like, you know, Siege Rhino is always so good, but it's rarely much better than it actually is. You know, there's no big sweeper card here that's going to get him a 3-for-1. The 2-for-1s will be 2-for-1s, and they really can't do anything more. So when he's down this many cards, it's it's very difficult to come back. There's no Fated Retribution. There's no Perilous Vault. There's nothing that will get all this stuff off the board.
And the best you can try to do is an end hostilities, and it doesn't clean up all the problems.
Right.
Well, there's a Johnny. Of course, that's ticking up. Going to pile onto the courser here.
Interesting. All right, so he's going to go after Sorin.
A little bit of interesting attack. Hero's Downfall. Get that out of here. All right. Pass the turn back. He's hoping the boss is basically out of gas. Still plenty of good cards on the table. You see Boswell's hand right now. I believe 4 lands. One of them is a temple, though.
There's still that 5/5 flyer in play for Boswell. The one thing that Todd has going for him is that Boswell's at 8 life. So maybe he can't win on the board, but he could possibly win on the life totals. Now, granted, Boswell can gain life off Sorin. If he does so, it might put Todd in a pretty tough spot.
And Todd's going to extend the hand. The reveal of Elspeth there off of a Johnny. A Johnny just chaining in and doing too much. You know, Johnny finding Sorin, pumping up the vampire token, and then finding Elspeth. That's drawing too many cards with that card.
A Johnny's great.